Since I have now apparently become the price guy, people have been asking me about Inferno X booster boxes, which shops are charging what appropriate prices would be. So figured we'd make a video talking about the Japanese distribution system and what fair Japanese prices are, because it is drastically different than the English system. So my first video that involved pricing and sharing the prices of what businesses get stuff from the English distributors for broke down kind of the costs, and most of those costs are pretty universal within a couple percentage points of each other. No distributor is charging exponentially more than another when it comes to release product. They're all very, very similar. Japanese products is very, very different because there is no standard. With the English distributors, we have the businesses in America. You partner with them, and then they charge you what they charge you. Japan has their own distributors. However, those distributors refuse to work with anybody outside of Japan. They will not even speak to you. You cannot possibly, as an American seller, you cannot possibly buy from a Japanese distributor, which means you are forced to buy from a Japanese seller, which is just either an individual or a business themselves who is getting it from the distributor and then selling it elsewhere to the rest of the world. For that reason, there is absolutely no uniformity across the sellers. It is the same thing as in America, where 3 different businesses can get the product for the same price, and they all charge a different amount based off of whatever profit margins they are looking to make. So, if you are an American business and you are trying to buy Japanese booster boxes from a Japanese seller, essentially what has to happen is you have to contact as many Japanese sellers as you can find out what their typical pricing is, and then try to go with either the most reliable or the cheapest is probably the 2 options that you're looking for. I myself have at this point bought from now 7 different Japanese sellers, and I can tell you that some of the price discrepancies between them can be very, very dramatic. So one factor for an American seller's pricing is going to be what they get it for from the Japanese seller, and then the other one is going to be what their own specific profit margin is. Some businesses want to charge 15% profit margin, some want 20, some want 25, maybe more. So there's 2 different factors that are influencing what businesses are selling the Japanese boxes for. For that reason, you're going to have typically a very wide range of things. Some sellers in America are able to find, the top of the line, cheapest people possible. Some are just going to have to, shop with whoever they can find the products for, and have to pay a little bit more to get it. So when you look at these prices right here that we're going to go over, keep in mind the wide range of prices is not necessarily business specific. And especially now that the de minimis rule is gone and there is no way to get around tariffs, every business is paying the same tariff amount. That used to be a third factor that would influence pricing. If you could get stuff below the de minimis rule and you didn't have to pay tariffs, that would be like a drastic price difference. That doesn't exist anymore. Everybody's paying the same amount in tariffs, whether you buy from eBay, from a Japanese seller directly, or if the business, me, buys it from a Japanese seller, I have to pay that tariff, and then I have to obviously bake it into my prices. At the time of recording, so you can see these businesses right here, for the most part, market price on the Inferno X booster boxes is somewhere between $115 and about $130. That range is fluctuating, especially for a set like this that is this popular. The more popular and the more in demand the Japanese box or the set is, the more those prices fluctuate. And Japanese sellers will literally change their price by the day based off of the amount of orders that they are getting. So every day that you check, some Japanese sellers have like price sheets that they'll have on like an Excel, a Google Excel. Some will just send you them directly. Their prices will change daily for a set like this that is so valuable and so in demand. So some of these prices are just you got a little bit unlucky. You bought on a day when it was higher. Some people got a little bit luckier. They monitor every single day. They buy when it went down a little bit. So some of the price fluctuations and why there isn't necessarily a defined market price, that $15-ish range, $115 to $130, has to do with that. So you see a lot of sellers right here. Right now, the best price we're seeing is $117. And we're not going to show the sellers directly because I was called a bully last time. So we won't do that. 117 is the best price we're looking at. I've got a 118 down here, 120, 120, 120, 126, 125. I'm currently charging 125 for my boxes based off the price that I got for it. See down here we have a 140, a 142. Again, a lot of that has to do with who they are buying it from, what their own specific profit margins are. that kind of stuff. There are many factors that come in here. So you see down here, we have a $169.99, so $170. And I'm sure you are assuming that I'm about to rip into this business and call them a scalper and price gouging and all that stuff. However, like I said, if I'm giving this business the benefit of the doubt, okay, this 170 right here, can you see on my camera? Yes, you can. This 170 right here, it is very, very possible that that is the price that they have to charge in order to make any amount of profit. If they do not have a great seller, if let's say they've only been able to get in contact with one seller, that seller charges their own premium, this price might not be a personal markup, like a 30-40% profit margin. This could still be like the 20% profit margin that most stores try to stick around. If they just happen to not have a great seller and that person charges them more. I try to be 100% fair with these businesses about their pricing. The English prices I know very, very definitively, right? I know what businesses get their stuff for. So any amount above what I would consider a reasonable amount, I label as greed because that is choosing a personal profit margin. Because this system, the Japanese boxes and Japanese sellers, is completely unregulated, I have literally no clue what any of these businesses are getting this stuff for. Like this person up here, 117, they might be charging a 5% profit margin just so they can have the cheapest box on the market. And if so, good for them. Absolutely props for trying to fight the price down as opposed to trying to fight the price up. But all that's to say, this 170 right here, it might be necessary. It might just be what this person has to charge based off the prices that they got it for. Now on desktop, TikTok Shop doesn't have all the same functionality like sorting by prices and everything. I have seen boxes as high as 200. And again, you're probably thinking, I'm going to rip this business apart. But Japanese sellers charge a premium to ship boxes early. So you can choose to have something shipped for the release date, after the release date, or before the release date. You can choose to get it 2, 3, maybe 4 days. I haven't seen any sellers who offer 4 days, but potentially 4 days early, right? However, the Japanese sellers charge a premium on the price of the products if you want to get it early. So let's say if they are charging, let's just keep it easy number, 100,000 yen for a product. And then they say, okay, if you want it early, we're going to charge you 115,000, 120,000 yen. It could be a fairly significant markup. So if you see a box that is for $200 currently, that does not guarantee that that business is just trying to take as much money as possible for the sale. It is very possible that that business ordered the early edition of the box, but they ordered too many. They were not able to sell all of the inventory that they got prior to the release date, the expensive stock. And so they are left with expensive stock after release. And once the price drops down, people are very unlikely and unwilling to pay that premium price in the first place. So if you buy too many, if you overstock the early stuff at the high price and you get stuck with it, your choices then are either take the loss and just sell it off at whatever the new market price is, or just hang on to it and wait, know that someday, it might be 2, 3, 5 years down the road, someday it will eventually sell. Same thing happened to me with Glory of Team Rocket. I got incredibly expensive initial release products. I had a bad seller at the time. I've since switched. But my first shipment of Glory of Team Rocket was incredibly overpriced. I have an entire sealed case right now sitting in a back room that is way, way, way too expensive. I ended up paying, I think, somewhere around like $170 a box or something like absolutely ridiculous. Crazy, crazy insane. My options are either sell it at the market price now and take the loss, or just hang on to it knowing that it might take, 5 years, 8 years down the road for that to be an appropriate price for it. And I am personally willing to hang on to it until it becomes appropriate to sell it at the price that I would need to make a profit on it. Or even at this point, I'm just hoping to kind of make my money back. But I got stuck with that expensive inventory. Businesses with $200 booster boxes, that is absolutely possible. Now, final caveat, I have seen at least one seller, one item at around $240, $245. I don't know if they still are. I don't remember who the seller was. I can't look it up to find it. That is enough of a markup for me to say that most likely that business is charging an insane profit margin that is entirely unnecessary. For that to be an appropriate price for them, that person would have needed to probably buy it from at least one other American seller. So you have the distributor to the Japanese seller with their upcharge and the tariff to the American seller, and then the individual charging $240 would probably have had to have bought the original pre-release expensive product from them. So you have like 3 different levels of profit margins, tariffs, upcharges to get it. If $240 is genuinely like their normal profit margin. If it's at 20%, they got it for around $200 a box. That would be really stretching it as far as I'm concerned of what an appropriate price would be for a box. I struggle to see a scenario where $240 makes sense as far as a normal profit margin. Now, this individual is charging a 100% and 80% profit margin. That's very easy to rationalize and make sense. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to think of a way that $240 would be within that kind of 20% range. I'm really struggling to see a way. It is possible. Again, if you want to support somebody who has a box that is almost twice what market price is, that's your choice. You can do so. I would say it is probably not. It's not a great price. I'll just say that it's not in line with what the current market would be for this product. So if you were looking for this video to be another video where I'm ripping into sellers about greed, I'm sorry to disappoint. That is not what my shtick, that's not the niche that I want to be in. I want to be in the niche of sharing to you guys what appropriate prices are. And I want to give businesses the credit that they deserve when they do the right thing. And I want to give them the criticism that they deserve when they do the wrong thing. Japanese products, English products, 2 very, very different worlds. And as you can see, there is a ton of competition with the Japanese products, and I can confirm that all of these prices are very well within the range of what the typical Japanese sellers are selling it to America for. They're just like any other business. If they know that a set is super, super popular, they have their own upcharges, and they're fighting amongst themselves to try to have the best prices to get the most customers and all that stuff, but they know that this set is going to sell at this price, and so they have their own upcharges for it. But like I said, I just want to give the information to you guys so that you guys can make the best decisions for yourself. If you choose to support any individual at a higher price, if you really love this seller right here that has the 140 booster box, if you specifically enjoy supporting them and you don't mind paying the extra $15, $20 for that box, go for it. You're an adult. You should make the decisions with your own money that you worked for that you want to. So I just want to give you guys the information to do so. And that's what I'm hoping to do with this channel and future videos and all of that stuff. So thank you guys all for watching very much. I hope you understood, at least I hope I communicated this in a good way. I hope you understood the breakdown of all this stuff and why there is such a difference between the Japanese and the English market as far as the consistency of the prices. But I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.